Thirsty Merc were big in the mid to late 2000s with a string of successful singles that saw the band shoot to the top of the charts, receiving platinum and gold certifications for their first two albums. In the Summertime, 20 Good Reasons and Someday Someday played endlessly on the radio and TV at the time, which is why I didn't like the band. In saying that, they absolutely know how to write hook-heavy pop rock for the masses. Despite the initial success of these hit songs, which were played all over the radio and TV for a substantial period of time, Thirsty Merc pretty much disappeared, failing to replicate the success of their first two albums. What happened to Thirsty Merc's songwriting, and what have they been up to for the past decade? Stay a while as I take you through the rise and fall of Thirsty Merc. Thirsty Merc are an Aussie pop rock band that formed in 2002 in Dubbo, New South Wales. The original lineup consisted of lead vocalist and keyboardist Ray Thistlethwaite, bassist Phil Stack, drummer Carl Robertson and guitarist Matthew Baker. The band were initially called Thirsty while they were in Dubbo, before moving to Sydney where they renamed themselves Thirsty Merc. Before the band would go on to create massive hits, they spent these early years jamming and writing together, culminating in their debut EP, First Work, on the 8th of September 2003. The EP was released through their own indie label, Don't Music, with Warner Music Australia handling distribution for the EP and subsequent offerings after the band caught their attention. The EP was recorded on a tiny budget at a recording studio in Sydney where Thistlethwaite was working as a session musician and engineer. The band were able to maximise limited studio access without label support and otherwise costly exercise. First Work managed to chart at 95, which is quite impressive for an indie release. Lead single, Wasting Time, gained national radio exposure through Triple J and Nova, helping to build momentum. The music video for Wasting Time was self-funded and received airplay on Channel V, where it became the Ripe Clip of the Week, further boosting the group's growing popularity. The production's a bit raw here, but still solid, with catchy and hook-heavy pop rock, which the band would soon become famous for. Wasting Time and Emancipate Myself are my favourite songs off of the EP. The band were frequently playing live shows in pubs and clubs in Sydney around this time, continuing to grow their fanbase. In April of 2004, the band released a more polished version of Emancipate Myself, which charted at 37. Aussies were clearly digging what the band had to offer. On the 16th of August 2004, Thirsty Merc released their debut full-length self-titled album. The album was co-produced by the band and Lindsay Gravina. Gravina had previously worked with The Living End and Magic Dirt. This would be a winning formula, as Gravina's experience helped create the album's polished yet raw sound. The album was recorded to tape and later mixed at Gravina's Birdland Studios in Melbourne. The album peaked at 15, spending 48 weeks in the top 50, also going platinum with 120,000 units sold. The album produced multiple radio hits including My Completeness, Someday Someday, In the Summertime, and When the Weather is Fine. All of these singles entered the top 50 with multiple ARIA Award nominations. Now that my ears have had a shitload of time to recover from the massive hard-on the mainstream media had for this band, there's nothing offensive here with some of the non-singles actually being, dare I say it, good. I Wish Somebody Would Build a Bridge and KDQ have ended up on my Spotify playlist after listening to the whole album. Around the same time, just prior to a national tour supporting the album's release, original guitarist Matthew Baker departed the band. He was replaced by Sean Carey, a skilled guitarist and former member of the Sydney-based group Midnight Swim. Thirsty Merc had first crossed paths with Carey during an earlier gig at Club 77 in King's Cross where they opened for his band. His addition to the lineup brought a new level of technical proficiency and musical diversity, which would become evident in the band's evolving sound in subsequent releases. Thirsty Merc toured across Australia for the rest of 2004 and into 2005. In the latter half of 2005, the band played Reading and Leeds in the UK before coming back home for another tour. From 2006 to 2007, the band were hard at work touring, writing and recording their second album with Lindsay Gravina. The album's lead single, 20 Good Reasons, was released in March of 2007, becoming Thirsty Merc's first top 10 hit in Australia, climbing to number 4. Later in 2007 and into 2008, the band released additional singles, The Hard Way in September of 2007, Those Eyes in December, and Homesick in May of 2008. Every single charted in the top 100 with varying degrees of success. Thirsty Merc released their second album, Slideshows, on the 21st of April 2007 through Warner Music, with the album charting at number 4 and going gold with more than 35,000 units sold, failing to live up to the success of the first album. This was the first album to feature new guitarist Sean Carey. Some critics called the album a breakup album with themes of heartbreak and relational difficulty across the 12 tracks. Thistlethwaite had written many songs, with the rest of the band choosing the tracks that they felt had the strongest emotional impact. There's more catchy pop rock on display here, however, the hooks and songs in general aren't as strong as their debut. The only real standout tracks for me are The Vision and 20 Good Reasons. To promote Slideshows, the band undertook a major tour in Australia, beginning with theatre shows nationally and followed by regional performances. On the regional leg of the tour, the band played 38 shows over 7 weeks. In the first month of 2008, the band played the Australia Day live concert in Canberra, with more touring throughout 2008 at home, including playing as a support act for Matchbox 20. Not much happened in 2009 while the band were writing and recording their soon-to-be third album. On the 14th of January 2010, Thirsty Merc announced that lead guitarist Sean Carey had left the band. Carey cited wanting to devote more time to his family and to pursue work as a record producer. He was replaced by Matt Smith, who had previously played with The Strides. Mousetrap Heart, lead single off of the upcoming album, released on the 21st of May 2010, sounding too much like Maroon 5 for my liking. The single peaked at number 30. A few months later, on the 18th of June, Thirsty Merc released their third studio album, Mousetrap Heart. The album was recorded mostly in LA, with Matt Wallace as co-producer, who had previously worked with Maroon 5. Now that makes a lot of sense. 2 tracks were produced back home in Melbourne with longtime producer Lindsay Gravina. Mousetrap Heart peaked at number 14 on the charts, failing to receive a certification. Kiss Me Away is another Maroon 5 ripoff, which marks a pretty poor start for the album. Mozambique and Betty Page are the best tracks on the album as the band channeled their old sound. Everything else is just kinda forgettable. The band supported the album with a national tour in July. The second single off of the album, Tommy and Krista, came out in September and reached number 10 in New Zealand. Another single from the album, All My Life, was used in the promotional clips for the 2010 AFL Grand Final. The band toured at home again in 2011, followed by a tour supporting Meatloaf. The next 2 years, from 2012 through to 2013, saw next to no live shows from the band while they were working on album number 4.
It should not be bittersweet when the scene out on the street is so...
By 2014, Thirsty Merc were releasing music again with their acoustic anniversary album celebrating a decade of their self-titled album. The band set off on another tour at home through the year in support. Between the touring, the band were working on new music for album number 4 still. Released on the 4th of September 2015, Shifting Gears was Thirsty Merc's 4th studio album of original material, releasing almost 5 years after their previous full album of new songs. The album was entirely indie, released from the band without a major label. To assist with the financial side of things, the album was partially crowdfunded through Pledge Music. Recording took place at Birdland Studios in Melbourne, with the band choosing to work with producer Lindsay Gravina again. The album failed to receive a certification, but it did peak at 68. The album returned to their roots on this one, with The Good Life being a standout track, sounding like it could fit in on their first 2 albums. Sweet Talk is pretty good too, with a simple but groovy riff. I Fall in Love and I'm Crazy are solid as well. Following the release of the album, Thirsty Merc toured quite a bit with more than 3 national tours in support of Shifting Gears. Shortly after the album's release on tour in 2015, the band suffered a serious setback due to a fatal vehicle accident which killed their stage manager and seriously injured their drummer, Carl Robertson. Scheduled shows were pushed back to October of the same year. From 2016 to 2019, the band played plenty of supporting shows for major acts including Bryan Adams, with their own headline shows sprinkled in here and there. COVID arrived in 2020 and not much happened. 2021 arrives and the band are back to touring again while writing album number 5. On the 30th of May 2022, Thirsty Merc announced that their next studio album, Celebration, would be released on the 17th of June 2022, followed by a national tour playing 27 shows. Celebration is a covers album featuring the band's unique spin on Australian artists' songs spanning several decades. The lead single, released alongside the album's announcement, is a cover of Daryl Braithwaite's As the Days Go By. The album was independently released and failed to chart. In 2023, the band celebrated their 20th anniversary with even more touring in 2024 with their Electric Summer Tour, which carried over into 2025. The band also supported Goo Goo Dolls when they toured Australia in 2024. In 2025, Thirsty Merc are gearing up for their Summer Live 25 tour commencing in October. There doesn't appear to be any new music on the horizon for the band.
I've met people that are like a cup load of sand.
So, what does the internet have to say about Thirsty Merc? Over on the Australian Nostalgia subreddit, there's a thread about the song 20 Good Reasons. Users had the following to say: "It's a perfectly cromulent song. Phenomenal is a bit much. They still tour, they were actually pretty decent live, and the guy still has a lot of hair, and asking for 20 reasons is a bit much." Over on the band's YouTube page in the comment section of the In the Summertime music video, users are discussing the song. To my surprise, Friendly Geordies is in there with "Still Blazing to This in 2016 and "Still Blazing to This in 2020. Other users had the following to say: "Every time I hear this song, it reminds me of Bondi Rescue, and needless to say, Bondi Rescue brought me here. It's great that they actually found some good old Aussie talent for their theme song."
Now I gotta say that all of this is coming down on me like a ton of bricks with this present.
So, why is this video titled The Rise and Fall of Thirsty Merc when they're still touring? The band was signed to Warner Music and peaked with their debut album, which nearly went double platinum. At the height of their careers, they were playing decent-sized venues like the Metro Theatre and the Forum. Every album after their debut fell short commercially and stylistically when they chased the sound of Maroon 5. When Shifting Gears released in 2015, it was a step back in the right direction. By this point in their careers, however, Australia had pretty much fallen out of love with the band, including the lack of a major label support behind them, such as Warner. The band are now also playing much smaller venues, including RSLs and club shows. Despite falling off, they haven't stopped touring for the fans they still have, which earns them a level of respect in my books. Thanks for watching.